What's up, guys? I have in front of me the very first college football playoff rankings of the season. As of today, I'm recording this on November the 5th, so the very first rankings dropped today, and I figured I would just take a look at it, react to it, give you guys my thoughts. I do my own power ratings on socials, so you can find it on the community tab of YouTube or Instagram, Threads, X, wherever. And those are based on quality of team, not resume. This is based on resume. So let's go ahead and take a look at it and see what we think about the playoff rankings. So number 25, Tennessee. Don't have strong feelings about that. They've lost 3 games. I do think that maybe somewhere lower in this ranking there should be a G5 team, but I get the sentiment that they don't play the same kind of schedule as a Tennessee does. So Tennessee's had 3 losses, but they've been pretty high quality losses. So I have no issues there. Pitt, they're there at 24. I may have them a little higher, but yeah, they also have 2 losses. Washington, no issue there. So a lot of these lower teams, I don't have too much of an issue with. Missouri, teams that I don't think that are that high in quality, but are still resume-wise deserve to be here. Michigan, no problem with that. The interesting thing here is Iowa, actually, because the AP poll does not have Iowa ranked at all. I do think that Iowa should be ranked. I think they have a pretty good quality of schedule. They've had a pretty nice week this week. Now, this game against Oregon will say a lot of whether they will continue to be ranked or will be even higher in the rankings. But I do think Iowa deserves to be ranked at this current moment because rankings are not, projections. So, yeah, they might lose to Oregon, but this week they deserve to be in the rankings because they're 6-2 and they've got a pretty good schedule, I think. USC, yep, they're around where I would put them. Miami at 18, that feels pretty low, honestly. I don't think Notre Dame is ahead of them. I haven't got to them yet, but Miami is ahead of them. That's pretty interesting because Miami beat them head to head and has the same record as them. So it'll be interesting to see where Notre Dame is. But 18 feels pretty low. Georgia Tech, they are actually at number 17. They're also lower than I thought they would be. I guess that I know that the committee talked about changing their standards. So basically the way I understand it is that if you schedule hard opponents and lose, you won't be punished as harshly. But if you schedule light and win, it's not going to do as much for your ranking. So I think that's kind of what we're seeing here at Georgia Tech because they've had a really easy schedule. They have a great record, but a really easy schedule. So that's, I guess, why they're at 17. But it kind of seems like the playoff committee is not does not have a lot of love for the ACC this season because these are 2 of the best teams in the conference and they're pretty low. 16 Vanderbilt, yeah, that makes sense. 15 Louisville again, and 14 Virginia. So that I assume is going to be the highest ranked ACC team. So that says something about the ACC is probably not going to get multiple teams in the playoffs. So that's pretty interesting. Number 13 is Utah. Okay, so 7-2 Utah is above 7-1 Louisville and 8-1 Virginia, and obviously Georgia Tech. So they obviously have a lot of faith in Utah. So maybe the Big 12 is actually getting more of a nod than the ACC here. That's something that's interesting. They might get 2 teams in just by looking at this with Utah at 13. So that's pretty interesting. So I think that Big 12 has a better shot of getting 2 teams in at this point than the ACC does, judging on this one ranking alone. Oklahoma at 12 and Texas at 11. Okay, so this is kind of interesting to me too because with Texas and Oklahoma with 2 losses and the remaining schedule they have, this is where we kind of get into the question of whether a 3-loss SEC team will make the playoffs. And I do think it's possible for either of these 2 teams. Now, they have to win out for that to be the case or, only lose 1 more game. Obviously, Oklahoma is going to play Alabama and LSU and Missouri. So the odds of them going there with 1 loss is not super likely. It'd probably be to Alabama. But say they beat Alabama and then they lose to, LSU. Then what? Are they in? I think they're probably in at that point. Also depends, of course, on the teams ahead of them if they do what they're supposed to do or not. But Texas, what if they, beat Georgia and then lose to Texas A&M, or vice versa? Like, what do you do with them at that point? I don't know. I think that's a very real possibility that a 3-loss SEC team can make the playoffs, and I think it would have to be one of these two teams. Notre Dame, we got them up here at number 10. That is really interesting. I think it's the same thing that the AP did, the same ranking difference between Notre Dame and Miami, which kind of I don't like Miami. I'm a Miami hater. It's probably my least favorite team in college football other than Ohio State. So I don't mind seeing Miami so low, but I do think it's interesting that Notre Dame and Miami have the same record, and Miami beat Notre Dame, just like in the head-to-head, and there's this much of a gap. It's kind of clear. I guess it's really clear that the playoff committee is really using the eye test heavily here, because it's not like Notre Dame's played a bunch of quality opponents and got a bunch of quality wins. Miami, I think, has better wins than Notre Dame has at this point. So, yeah, that's not what I expected. So I think a lot of people are going to be upset about that. Maybe some people will be upset that Notre Dame's actually higher than Texas and Oklahoma as well. I'm not, because if we are using the eye test, Notre Dame looks a lot better than Texas. Because, Texas has almost lost several games that they shouldn't have lost. And I'm an SEC guy. I love Georgia. But I think in this instance, I do think Notre Dame is in a good spot over Texas and Oklahoma. Maybe not Miami, but I don't know. But I do think Notre Dame would beat Miami today, if that makes any difference. Oregon at number 9. They're honestly lower than they were in the AP, and I think that I expected either. But it makes sense. Their schedule is not great either. They haven't had many chances to prove themselves since that loss to Indiana, and that win against Penn State. It's deteriorating, I guess, in value. Obviously, I think that when they played Penn State, it was a different team. I think they actually were the reason that Penn State went on their downhill trajectory. So I'm not sure how you quantify that game, how you judge that game, because I think by the time that Oregon played them, they were still a contender and they were a top 15 team. But obviously now it doesn't look that way looking back. So I think that might be hurting them a little bit there. But yeah, they don't have any other quality wins under their belt yet. But again, they have several games to close out the season that could easily change that narrative. Texas Tech at number 8. So yeah, there's another Big 12 team we got up here. And then BYU at 7. Those two teams play this weekend. So that will obviously change. But again, 2 Big 12 teams I think is very possible given these rankings. And then we got number 6, Ole Miss, Georgia 5, Alabama 4, A&M 3, Indiana 2, Ohio State 1. Not surprising. The top 5 is not surprising. Now, I personally think that I would rank Indiana above Ohio State, and honestly A&M as well, just because if we're going by strength of schedule, I think both of those two teams have a better schedule as of right now. I don't think Ohio State's had really anyone. They haven't really played anyone that good other than Texas at the beginning of the year, and even that is kind of shaky given how Texas has looked. So yes, Ohio State may look like the best team in the country, so again, that's eye test. But if we're using eye test, Indiana's looked really dominant in all their games. A&M has had some really dominant victories and played a way more quality schedule. So I honestly think Ohio State should be number 3. I'm in the minority there. I know a lot of people wouldn't put them there. But I do think that from a power ratings perspective, Ohio State's probably the number 1 team in the country. But from a ranking perspective, I don't necessarily feel that way. But it's not surprising to see that here. So that's pretty much all I have for these rankings. There's a few interesting things that I'm excited and interested to see how that looks going forward. And again, if you want to see my power ratings, please just let me know, and I'll include it in a video, or maybe make its own video if that's what you guys want, and then we can break that down. But that's all for today's video, guys. I hope you enjoyed, and peace.